Hey guys, welcome back. Here we go. Football Talk with Hawk. Appreciate you stopping by the podcast. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe. Would appreciate it if you give a like to the podcast. Interesting topics tonight. Been doing a little bit of reminiscing again, as you know from the last podcast. We went a little bit deeper into the mind games, the chess game, you will, of football. And tonight, let's go into what the future of football looks like, what it probably looks like, and what we, the fans, would really prefer to see. But first of all, the Raiders use all of the remaining points that they can score for the rest of the year in one game at home on Thursday Night Football against the Chargers. The score does not indicate the actual game. It was not 63-21. That game was, oh my word. For those of you who play fantasy, I have multiple leagues. Okay, so understand that right up front. I have multiple leagues. I picked up the Raider defense on purpose, and in my league got rewarded with 39.9 points from the Raider defense. Aiden O'Connell posts his best stat line of the year, gets 34 fantasy points. And the team honestly looks like it did with Rich Bisaccia. And I think Mark Davis really needs to look at hiring Antonio Pierce. I understand he's a defensive coach. I do. But he's a football player. Ex-football players have a better understanding of what's required to be a competitive team. Mike Tomlin, Robert Saleh, Todd Bowles. The reality is they don't understand how important the line play is. They love defense. They love being physical. They love being aggressive. But you need to take care of the offensive line. And in each one of those places, the offensive line now struggles. Antonio Pierce understands the value of an offensive line. He knows those giant Super Bowl teams wouldn't have happened without Sean O'Hara, without Compton. You need an offensive line. And I think he would do very well at the job. Very well. Now, on the other sideline, you have somebody who I don't even know if is a good defensive coordinator anymore. Not going to lie. I don't even know if Brandon Staley would get hired as a defensive coordinator right now. I don't. Show me his work in Los Angeles. Show me when his defense he runs that he cannot be questioned on because he's the head coach. Show me when that defense has been outstanding. Top 10. Hasn't happened. He's not good. He's really not. And right now, I'll say it. Brandon Staley needs to be fired Friday morning at 8 a.m. The Spanos family cannot embarrass their fans any longer. The little fan base, it's little. The little fan base that they have. Because you pulled them out of San Diego. You made a dumb move to Los Angeles. It's a dumb move. You're the 5th best team there. Maybe. You got the Kings. You got the Clippers. You got the soccer team, the Galaxy, that's potentially got more fans than you. The Lakers and the Rams are absolutely 1-2. It's a college football city with USC, UCLA. Like, come on. You messed up. That move was dumb. Really dumb. You piggybacked on the Rams with the new stadium. It was dumb. You need to fire Staley. And with all energy, money, and focus, go get Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers, listen to this. The Chargers could have a top 5 pick. In fact, looks very likely now. As I believe the Bears and the Jets can still win one more game, I believe the Chargers go winless against the Bills, the Broncos, and the Chiefs. There is a legit chance the Chargers will be drafting 5th in April's draft. Jim Harbaugh with a top 5 pick. Trade down, get more picks. Draft Brock Bowers, Jaron Verse, tackle, got options. You need to go get your big coach. You should have hired Brian Daboll originally. If you hired Brian Daboll, your team would be shocking everybody because the Chargers have more skill players than the Giants. Can you imagine Brian Daboll with Justin Herbert? Can you imagine him with Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Guyton, Palmer? Oh, man, come on. Come on. Brian Daboll would have the Chargers winning in that division. They messed up. They got to move off. They got to spend money. And they've got to go get a big coach. They need to go get a big coach. Somebody who is polarizing enough for Los Angeles. Brandon Staley doesn't belong there. He doesn't have the IQ. He doesn't have the skill. He doesn't have the level of commitment. He doesn't have the moxie. He doesn't have the attitude. Go get a coach. Go get the Chargers' next Marty Schottenheimer. Go get the Norv Turner. You need to. You have to. Or else you're basically going to be the last place team in the AFC West with not the worst quarterback. You got the second best quarterback in the division, and you're going to finish last every year. All right, enough on the Chargers. Raiders, I don't even know what to say. I just don't. The defense played fantastic. Yes, Ethan Slick was starting for the Chargers. Excuse me. The offense looked completely inept. Fair enough. But doggone it. Give credit where credit's due. They scored 63 points. 63 points. Well done. Standing applause and kudos to the Raiders. Kudos to Antonio Pierce. I hope he gets the job. If the Raiders can go get a Kirk Cousins, if they can get a Kirk Cousins, I think they'll be okay. Jimmy Garoppolo he's gone. It's gone. He doesn't have it. It's just, no. No. And honestly, Aiden O'Connell isn't it. Even tonight, 20 of 34, 250, 245, 47, something like that. 63 points, and he only threw for 247 yards. Had 4 touchdowns. Give him that. But come on. Come on. The Raiders need a quarterback. And I believe they are a quarterback away from making the Chiefs' life in that division a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get into some of the stuff that's been talked about recently. Some of you may have heard of this, some of you have not, so I will do my best to explain it quickly and thoroughly for you. Roger Goodell came out and said, we need to get rid of the hip drop tackle. It has to be outlawed from the game. We need it out of the NFL. And for those of you that don't know, it's correctly tackling a guy. Let me be very clear. Bear hug wrapping a guy. He's not going down, and you basically let your weight just fall. So you fall on his legs. Some leg injuries hurt. You manipulate your body and twist a little bit to come down on their hip and force them to go down. By the way, it's called a tackle. That is what it's called. It's called a tackle. The game is called football. I am all for protecting truly defenseless players. 1,000%. I am glad the helmet to helmet, shoulder to helmet hits are gone. I am. I know some of you are like, man, that was a fun era. Honestly, no, it wasn't. I don't like watching people purposely trying to injure somebody else. That was the goal. Let's stop lying about it. We're adults. You wanted to injure them, they're out of the game. People's lives were at risk. So let's just stop with that and understand correct targeting calls and correct defenseless player calls are better for the game and the players to make sure those dads go home every night. It's a violent game. You're going to get injured. You're not going to get killed. The hit that Justin Jefferson got last week against the Raiders, oddly enough, was clean. It was Dobbs' fault. Dobbs threw a really bad ball. Justin is completely outstretched, and the defender lays straight into Justin's ribcage. Nice, clean, hard hit. I didn't say I want hard hits gone. I said I want helmet hits gone, head hits gone. Stop hitting the guy in the head on purpose. Stop leading with your helmet because it's also dangerous for you. That's what I wanted. The guy absolutely drilled Justin, and Justin got injured. It's Dobbs' fault. It's a football play. Dobbs is a new style quarterback, not old. He didn't protect his receiver. He screwed up his job. He needs to go over, apologize to Jefferson, pay for a week of Meals on Wheels or whatever, because it was his fault. He didn't protect his receiver. That simple. Football's violent. At its core, it's violent. You're running into people at full speed, as fast as you can go, as powerful as you can go. I'm sorry, what did you expect? The rules they've made for where you can hit players, I don't like all of them. And this hip drop tackle is going to turn into a judgment flag. You're going to have to judge intent. That ain't going to work. You can't judge intent with the flag. You can't do it. They want potentially, people are calling for the tush push to be outlawed. You ask me, the more dangerous play that they need to stop is the play that a couple years ago they started allowing again. When those big 320 offensive linemen, 320-pound offensive linemen, come roaring in from the back to push the pile after forward momentum has been stopped. That's more dangerous. That's where your injuries happen a lot. Look at them. Guys get up, they're grabbing their arms, they're grabbing their legs. The guy was stopped. Play was stopped. And then somebody comes up and is a 320-pound bowling ball that tries to push the pile forward. That needs to be outlawed. That's a more dangerous play than this hip drop tackle. The guy's tackling him. Stop forward progression then. Start calling these guys down when they're in the grasp. Really? I know. The offense and everybody was complaining, we got to stop stopping play. These guys are elusive now. They can get out of tackles. Big deal. You want to make the game safer? 4 possessions stopped, whistles blown, you're done. The guy's got you wrapped up in 2 arms, you're done. The offensive lineman is not coming in from behind and pushing you forward 3 yards all of a sudden. He does that, now it's a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty. Football is a team sport, and it's a one-on-one sport. I told you guys with yesterday's podcast, Ray Lewis talked about it's you versus me. I have to beat you. Darrelle Revis had Revis Island. It was him versus that receiver. It wasn't the Jets versus the receiver. It was Revis versus the receiver. Champ Bailey versus the receiver. Darrell Green versus the receiver. Patrick Surtain. Sam Madison. Rondé Barber and Brian Kelly ran cover 2 in Tampa. It's what they did. Charles Woodson, Al Harris, Shawn Springs, a guy that a lot of people forget about, that was a very solid corner. I loved how Shawn Springs played in Seattle. I really did. The reality with it, Chris McAllister in Baltimore, you played against the player. Right now, you're playing against the player, the offensive line. You're playing against anybody who decides to come over and quote-unquote support their teammate. Blow the play dead. The game's automatically going to be safer. I don't. People say, that play was awesome. Threw it out of the sack. Listen. The next injury that happens to a quarterback that's scrambling and he's in somebody's arms, still struggling, gets tackled and flips the ball as he's going to the ground, and because he's flipping the ball instead of going to the ground, protecting himself, gets injured, don't blame the defense. The guy should have been ruled down. The defense can't aggressively slam the quarterback, so they're holding him up, waiting for the whistle to be blown. And the refs are swallowing their whistles right now and letting them play. Listen, if that's going to be the case, then Goodell needs to shut up, and so does anybody else that is worried about this hip drop tackle. Do you want him to play football or not? I haven't thought this year's been that bad with flags. Yeah, you're going to have them. This is live sports. You can't judge any better live. Deal with it. Fanatics are always loyal. Chiefs got screwed. Yeah. That's what everybody was saying when you were beating other teams and the calls were going your way. That's how fanatics are. I'm not worried about the fanatics. I'm worried about football fans. Because football fans understand something's not right. We're getting these plays. Guys are getting stops. The tackle is what they've been reduced to. Dropping their weight onto their opponent's legs is the only way to get them down to the ground. And you want to take that away? Now, yes, before I say this, I understand. The Pat McAfee show is full of defensive guys. Chuck Pagano, Butler, Hawk, I know. Pat McAfee himself is a he's defensive guy. Okay? He's not offense. But here's the reality. They all said the same thing today when talking with J.J. Watt. And J.J. Watt called it out. And I think more players are going to have to, including offensive players. Tom Brady already has. Ben Roethlisberger has. I don't really like Big Ben, but he has. The players are calling it out. Player safety is one thing, but don't ruin the game. Don't ruin the game. The game is football. And J.J. Watt said it today. If they ban a tackle, we're not talking about the horse collar tackle, which, by the way, I agree. The horse collar tackle is really dangerous because that is everything. You can hurt somebody's back, hip, neck, legs. Like, I didn't like the horse collar tackle because you're not using, you're only using the pads. you're using a fact that the player basically has a handle around his neck, and you're using that to bring him down instead of tripping him up or something to that effect. The horse collar tackle I understood because I watch the horse collar tackles and I yell at my kids for doing that. My boys play rough. I yell at both of them for coming up and grabbing the other by the neck and pulling backwards. That can really hurt. That can cause harm. Remember, I'm okay with hits. Not okay with the purposely causing bodily harm. No head hits. I don't like head hits. I never like somebody's head potentially being knocked off. People like that, doesn't he? Really? We've had broken necks. How far do you want to go? You want somebody to get decapitated out on the field? Because that is going to happen with 25 mile per hour helmet coming at you. That was going to be what was next, guys. And if you don't think so, if helmets fly off, look at how bad the concussions are just when their heads are bouncing off the turf now. Think about how bad it would be now to get hit in the head. Straight across. Your neck's broke. At minimum. If somebody legitimately died on the field, it would have been bad. Yes, this is a lot different for a podcast, and I understand that. Remember, I'm going to go into topics that we're going to go deeper than ESPN or any show really can go. There's the reality. I understand it's a fine line. The horse collar tackle was legitimately a dangerous tackle. Grabbing somebody by a handle that's around their neck, pulling them backwards, that was just dangerous. We're talking about a guy that's wrapped up. The hip drop tackle is a guy that's bear hugged. And the defensive player is just falling. Letting his weight, which is all he's got against this other guy, letting his weight help him take him down. That's legitimately what's happening. I don't like where this is going to go. J.J. Watt said it today. Let's just start calling it flag football and leave it alone. If we're going to play flag football, then say we're playing flag football. Stop lying. Stop lying that it's a great game and a great sport. Guarantee you London is not going to show up for flag football the way they do this football. Guarantee you fans aren't going to show up for flag football the way they show up for this football. Everybody says the product is what matters. Nah, I don't think so. I really don't. We as Americans are rut people. We get in a rut. We get in the same old, and we're happy there, and that's it. So spring football by a league that is not the NFL keeps, quote unquote, not working. Why? We're watching basketball and baseball. Sunday night baseball. I grew up with it. You had Sunday night football, then you basically took March, rest of February and March, off. Those Sunday nights were open. Because even when I was a kid, basketball wasn't on Sunday nights. Just wasn't. Not till playoffs. But then you ushered in April. And that opening week, Sunday night baseball. Every Sunday night you had a baseball game. A lot of times it was West Coast teams. Sometimes it's the Mets. Other times it's the division rivals. I will give credit to Sunday Night Baseball has good matchups as far as aesthetics and fan bases are concerned most times. The White Sox versus the Tigers. The Cubs versus the Cardinals. The Mets versus the Braves or the Phillies. They're good. I will give them that. They're smart. It was Sunday night. And you talk about it Monday morning. The Spring Football League just kind of cuts into what is already done. I'm a sports fan. I love football the most. Hands down. But I'm a sports fan. Growing up, I will tell you my routine. September through January, I was in front of the TV for a minimum of 6 hours on Saturday and 6 hours on Sunday. Monday night, listen, as a kid, your mother tells you go to bed and she watches her Monday night shows. I understand that unless the Colts are playing. Then Colts are playing, I'm watching, I'm up, we good. Then you had a break. February was the Super Bowl. You had a little bit of a break, not much going on, and that was okay. You'd watch the All-Star game of the NBA, which is really key for the NBA. To me, it marks when things get serious because the trade deadline is right after that. So for me as a young kid, then my ushering into the NBA season fully would be the NBA skills competition, slam dunk competition. And then I start watching basketball. I watch it periodically through the beginning of the year because I had the Jermaine O'Neal and Reggie Miller teams as a kid until all that stuff blew up. So I had periodically, the Wednesday night game, the Thursday night game, whatever, that I would end up having to watch in my parents' room on the smallest screen ever created in mankind for a TV, but I'd watch it. I knew what was going on. I'd watch SportsCenter every morning. Then we got away. We get into April, we got baseball. I was homeschooled as a kid. I was one of those that was blessed with the ability to do what I did. I got done with school by noon, and I was outside from 1 o'clock till it was dark or thereafter. That was me. Okay? Indiana, what used to be Chicago time zone in the summer. Excuse me. Sorry, I got something in my throat. Hang on. Give me a second here. There we go. Sorry about that. Used to be Chicago time in the summer and New York time in the winter. So guess what time the Cub games came on? WGN. Home of the Cubs. 12 o'clock. almost every day, I'd watch the Cubs. Loved baseball. Sammy Sosa, Moises Alou, Rod Beck, Kerry Wood, Greg Maddux, Mark Pryor, Ryan Dempster, Carlos Zambrano, Aramis Ramirez, Derek Lee. Want me to keep going? I loved them. Loved them. And then started dying down. Get through the summer months, summer's hot outside, still watching baseball. The most exciting part of baseball is actually the playoff race, especially when it was only 4 teams, and most of the time you had races to be there. Most of the time. So it was fun heading into late July, early August. And then training camps. Football's coming back. And then you get that August Thursday night game. Week 0, they call it in college football. I love week 0. That opening Thursday night game. Frank Beamer and the Virginia Tech Hokies kicking off the year by obliterating somebody with their special teams and defense. And then 2 weeks later, the NFL. That is what a lot of sports fans do. That's the rut we're in. So it makes it harder for something else to change. Well, when XFL and USFL are trying to do this, they're trying to get in a different area, and I think they should. Be very clear. I didn't think the XFL was a bad product. I like watching football. I like watching guys trying to make a better life for themselves. Doesn't bother me at all. The fan base has definitely responded, primarily St. Louis. In fact, if the NFL was smart, they would absolutely reach out to this league, become a part of it, and go, you need to go in the cities we're not. I want a team in Toronto. A team needs to be in St. Louis, which it is. And by the way, that city is starving for a football team. The Rams moved to LA as worked out. St. Louis did nothing wrong. Yeah, they're going to have to build a new stadium probably to get a pro team again. But that fan base, doggone it. The Battlehawks were fun to watch. The best uniform, in my opinion, of the XFL. USFL, same thing. Go to the places that we're not. San Antonio. I like Birmingham, Alabama. It's a football town. It's Alabama. Memphis. Go to these places. Go to these cities. Find out if we can get a football following at a smaller scale. Smaller scale. And see if it works. And if it does, then owners could know, hey, I can move a team here and we're going to have a loyal fan base. They can know without a shadow of a doubt, I've got a loyal fan base. Any owner that wants to start a team in St. Louis is not wrong. They are not wrong. Any owner that wants to start a team in San Antonio, not wrong. Not wrong. They're loyal. They're going to be there. That's what you need to have. Right now, the disconnect is trying to make all this money. Money runs everything. I know. Everything's a business. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it is. But everything has to be run correctly. You have to have smart business. And smart business is, where can I get consistent money? Not where can I get the big all chip of money that's then going to fade away. Where can I get consistent money that I can rely on, can build, can grow, cement myself, the team, cement in the city and become part of it? That's what the focus needs to be. The USFL, the XFL, they can work, and they should work. They need to work. Owners need to pay attention to these different things. New owners need to pay attention. Hey, I can start up a team here and it can work. I can do it. The fan base is here. They're loyal. I will make consistent money. As Americans, we get stuck in a rut, and we got to break out of it. I'm still kind of in it mentally, not really in it with what I do, because of all the streaming services that have come in. I'll be honest with you, I'm not interested in having 10 different streaming services. Really not. So I don't. I wait for everything to become available on what I do have. It's not live, it's fine with me. But we got to get out of our rut of, we got to make sure that when we're looking at things that are coming in that are new, like the sports league, like some potential rule changes, everybody's going to have to be okay with, this one works, but this one can't happen. Once again, no, a different podcast. Appreciate you guys stopping by and listening. We're going to wrap this up here in a second. It's just something that's on my mind as we go into another off season of the rules being changed. The rules being changed. The NFL needs to use the USFL and the XFL as their test for rules, just like Major League Baseball did with minor league baseball. Guess what? We need to have minor league football. We need to have the National Amateur Football League. Sure, it can be guys that are, only guys that haven't been out of college for up to 5 years. You can put rules and stipulations on it, but then they can get signed by NFL teams. That's the goal. It's the goal. It's what you want. And use it as a test. To this day, the XFL has the replay system correct. Transparency in how you handle replay would fix a lot. The NFL doesn't want it. They don't want transparency. They want these rule changes to make the game safer. But they don't want transparency in their rules, or how they call the rules, or how they enforce the rules. Double standards kill businesses. The lucky thing for them is we all love it. We're all in the rut. We're not getting out of it. We're going to watch football no matter what. It becomes two-hand touch. We're going to still watch football. We love football. So they're not forced to change. Really can't force them to change. There's going to be outcries. There's going to be problems. Ratings may dip a little bit, yeah. But reality is, it's not going to force them to do anything. Because we love football. We're in the rut. We're going to watch it. September through January. We're there. Every Saturday, every Sunday. And that's where we're at with rule changes. They're going to make some really dumb ones, and I am really worried about the offseason right now. Once again, Troy Vincent comes out and talks about NFL officiating. We're working on it. No. You can't do any better. I'm sorry. Do these plays live. You've taken the opportunity with replay to change things down to a absolute tenth of a frame. Whether or not his knee was down, whether or not his toe was down, just stop. Just stop. The play live is called as the way it's called. Unless it's egregious, leave it alone. I loved it when when it came out, they said it stands as called. Just leave it alone. Don't need to change it. Just leave it alone. There's nothing wrong with the call originally. And that's where we're currently at. All right, guys, that is enough for this. The next podcast will be my look ahead and the picks for this coming weekend. Plus, I'm going to give a little bit of a fantasy update, maybe a couple sleepers to help you in your playoff push to be, as my league calls it, the GOAT. And my goal is to be the fantasy GOAT and help you do the same. So that is what we will plan on doing in the next episode. Guys, until then, thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you so much. Have a fantastic day. This is Blackhawk signing off. We'll see you in the next podcast.